Hello, divine beings, and welcome to this YouTube channel. Okay, so this is actually like in a picture format, and I'm not sure why they don't have the filters for like the videos, but you can like video if it's like. Anyway, that's besides the point. We're speaking about the Annihilation movie, and it's sort of a perspective from a twin flame, divine feminine, that's in the masculine vessel. So, if you are aware of any of the other content on this platform, then you're aware that most of the platform comes from a twin flame perspective. And I honestly have seen feedback about the Annihilation movie being a flop, but I don't feel that it is. I don't feel that it was a flop. I feel that the movie was misunderstood. And while the topic of twin flames and the uh, label of twin flames is very popular, I think that there are just some people that have a different perspective when it comes to twin flames. Now, when I watched the movie, when it was first premiered and it was premiering on TV, the perspective that I received from it was like it was kind of there were questioning about a lot of things that were happening in the movie. And if you know about every twin flame coach that you've probably ever seen, they probably have like a perspective from their experience, right? But because you are having your own experience, you may not understand something that another twin flame is experiencing to a T, or like exactly how they're experiencing it, if that makes sense. It's not that like it won't be understood, it's just that it just probably won't uh, resonate with you if you're not experiencing something exactly similar to what that twin flame is experiencing. So, what I can say is that there's a part in the movie, and this is what uh, makes me think that it is more of a twin flame movie, is because there is a part where they're in the lighthouse and she is speaking to the other scientists after like she's like they're like going back and forth from what she experienced in the like the other part of the I forgot what they I'm going to call it the other world, right? Even though it was like the same world, they were just like in a different area that was like changed, right? And they called it aliens. Now I want to say something about that too, is that all of a sudden they've been speaking about this discovery of aliens, right? But that movie speaks about an alien. And I also want to say that you remember Roger, the alien that's on what's it, American Dad, I think it's called. Think about how many times aliens have been referenced, and now that there's this discovery, these things already exist. That's why when people say things like they don't believe in certain things, certain mythical things, and certain. I felt like I said mythical in a in a weird way, but I probably didn't. When people, don't believe in certain things that are a part of a divine being's experience, is kind of it just kind of there's just like this weird experience with people saying that. Like, I just kind of wonder how. Like, how don't you? Like, things that have been spoken about as far as like unicorns and things like that. Yes, they may not exist how we want them to exist, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. Like, when people have dreams of things, dreams can be very important indications about things that are going to happen in our experience. And I just saw the number 444. And what I want to let's make this about the movie again. And when I speak about her saying that the alien that she met was like it was mirroring her, right? And you may know that her husband, you know, he had that like smoke, that smoke thingy, and then it flared up, and then you saw the skeleton of his body, and then his other body was there. It was like the death of an old self. He was he was allowing his old self to die so that he can be in that new experience of himself. And with the feminine, because she became aware that he experienced that, she also, her experience was to experience. And I want to say this: the feminine goes through ascension first. Like the feminine has the experience first, and I felt that maybe in this particular movie, the husband may have been the feminine, and she may have been the masculine because she experienced things uh, like second, and it is like a, maybe it's like a depiction of the masculine being in a feminine vessel, and the feminine energy being in a masculine vessel, because he experienced everything first, right? And then when she experiences it, and she experiences uh meeting herself, right? Because if you think about it, she met her mirror self, but he also met his mirror self, and he became his mirror self, which is what the divine feminine becomes aware of, that she becomes the her higher self before the masculine energy does. So that way she can be teaching the the teachable energy to her masculine. Now when she, you know, discovers that her husband has, like, there's is not really her husband, and she's asking, "Oh, are you my husband?" Is what she, oh, no, she asks, are you Cain? Is what she asks the energy. And then you see that he he just hugs her. But keep this in mind now. Twin flames are considered mirror souls, but your higher self is it can be considered like that mirroring body that she gave the bomb to and pulled the ring out of it. But she still had to experience herself through her husband, because when she asked the guy, "Are you Cain?" and he said he doesn't know. And the thing is, spirit is, I was going to say, I heard like non, it doesn't like identify with form, is what I've heard in the past. Like it doesn't identify with the vessel. Like when people, like, as we have been in this experience, we have all created, as a human existence, we have created these uh, things that are necessary to be within this human experience. Like, and when I say that, and I don't want to get too far off the topic of the movie, but what I can say is that, like, you see how the husband is acting, how the Cain is acting. He's, oh, and this is what I meant to say, and I'm sorry that I'm just kind of like scrambling, right, with this with words and stuff, but I had it there. And I was gonna say that the husband is just, he's very present, and that specific time of seeing that movie, I was also sort of present in that way, where I was experiencing people and just kind of there. And you can probably see it in my old videos by the way that I was allowing people to receive me, but it was because there was so much information that was being given from the divine that it was that I truly became aware that um, that divine energy, and you may have heard that source is just it just exists. It exists within us. Like the soul is existent. It exists within us, having the experience. So it's there, and I think something that can be said about the husband's experience, right? If he is the divine feminine, is that when you meet yourself or your mirrored soul, which is energy, you become aware that how you allow yourself to receive you is what is reflected back to you. And if you notice that when she went into the lighthouse and she fought this mirrored version of herself, she it was fighting her back because she was fighting it. And so like it like hugged her up against the door. And so it's kind of like they were merging, and she was kind of understanding of it, but the husband allowed himself to die so that he could become that energy. So when she's asking, are you Cain, it just says, I don't know, because the soul just is. It's not that it doesn't have an identity, but when we operate from that perspective of giving something a identity, like we really don't have names, we don't have bodies, we're just pure existence at a soul level. So yes, we are living a human existence, so we have a human body, but when we identify with the conditioned things that we have been given, like names at birth, like ethnic background, and things like that, then we have to become aware that although we are having a human experience, we are divine beings. And I think that because there are not as many people that are awakened to the journey of the soul, that's why certain movies like this can be considered a flop, because they are somewhat misunderstood. And even the last scientist that died in the movie, well, she didn't even die, she just became pure energy. And that's what your soul is, pure energy. So when she was like, the light was coming out of her mouth and out of her body, and she just became like this pure existence. And you see Lena look at this energy, and she's kind of becoming aware of her. She's kind of being activated. Her light body is being activated, right? So what I can say is, I'm sure that she's the masculine energy in this movie, Natalie Portman, that is playing the character Lena. And something else that I wanted to say that's really important to why there seems to be a twin flame perspective of this movie is because Lena and Cain, or the light being that is non-conforming to a name or things like that, were the two beings that escaped that I keep forgetting what it's called, but the prism, we can call it the other world, right? And because I said like two, almost like I did like two with my hands, that is a reminder that like 1111 is very important for twin flames, because it is a reflection, that it is about reflection, the ones reflecting each other and being on this path to ascension, to become one integrated soul, or not even to become one integrated soul, because you are one integrated soul. You're just becoming aware that you are this light being, right? So here's the thing of what I noticed. And when I noticed it, I said, oh, 1111. When I saw that the husband allowed himself to die, right, and become the light being, because you see that he held the flare bomb thingy, and then uh he became the skeleton, but he was also existing. And so you saw the other version of him walk, which was maybe the light being. And because she had the interaction with her light being, she gave the bomb flare thing to it and to come back. But now she's aware that her husband has had this experience, but he's allowed that old version of him to die. But now, because he has he's that light being, she's still gonna experience the reflections, but through this being that is in the vessel of her husband's body, or you know what I'm saying. But what I realize is that, okay, it's her husband, and it's the two light beings that don't have that just have the vessel of their bodies. So when I think about that, like her husband had to allow his old self to die, but that's one in one, right? And then she and her light being energy were also fake. They also faced each other, right? So that's one in one, 1111. And that's how I saw it. And I think that it was a great representative, but of like the twin flame journey. But I think that many people wouldn't be aware if they aren't aware of the journey. Now, some other things that were sort of indications, right, is that before we speak about that, I want to say that our higher self can be seen as just light energy. So it doesn't really have a vessel. It's just within us. And if we identify with the vessel, then it's just like, oh, well, during this lifetime, this is who I am. But the soul itself is infinite. But something that I became aware of is that, and I'm remembering that she was also with that black man who I consider to be like a soulmate, because her husband didn't come home, but he was actually home. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. When you become aware of your higher self, you are her husband made it home, but technically, because she's with this soulmate, she isn't home. He has ascended, but when I say he, the feminine energy within this masculine has ascended, because he's went through the battle to become, he faced his higher self, right, and became his higher self. And she's experiencing the soulmate. And then when her husband comes home in the 3D experience that they have created, right, in this life path, in the what they call it. I just had said the name earlier. I'm getting excited because it's very exciting to speak about this thing. You can feel that there's a passion for the twin flame journey, right? So it's hot a little bit. uh, Within that lifetime, they have both chosen to do this. Like, when you are the feminine or the masculine energy within your twin flame experience, be aware that you have chosen to do this before birth. So he's become in alignment with his future self. And when he comes home in the 3D, he she's asking him these questions, but he is also you know reflecting this kind of knowledge of him not knowing sort of who he is, and because he's doing that, it's kind of difficult to say whether he's the masculine or the feminine at that point. And that's also the thing about mirroring. You right? Like, you understand, like, because energy is energy, it really, the names that we give it, like feminine and masculine, is just so that people understand the flow of the information and the direction that it's going. Now, when he, comes home and she's asking him these questions like, well, where were you? And he's just like, well, I don't know. It's kind of like a reminder of how when we have this human existence, we are conditioned by different things. And then when we start to become awakened, we have to uncondition the conditioning, right? So he's operating more from a mirrored perspective, and she's not conscious as to him being the future self. But then as she goes through the journey with these other scientists that don't make it, she understands that it's actually her journey to face her mirrored self. And so what I can say after that to any divine feminine, that masculine vessel or feminine vessel, is that this movie was a great representation of how the feminine energy becomes aligned with their higher self, or becomes their mirrored self, and then the masculine has to experience that same thing but in a different way. The end result was the feminine energy hugging the masculine energy, and them becoming alchemized, because now they understand what they both have been through to become each other. But there's also this masculine has the awareness, and you may have heard, and this is why it's difficult to say whether they're feminine or masculine, because you may know that the feminine energy within itself, or you may have heard that that sometimes there's this question whether, or I've seen this question to, why doesn't the masculine know who the feminine is? And I think that this movie was a great representation to show that, she can also be aware of her feminine energy, because she was face to face with her mirrored self. But when she met her husband was that light being, right? That was like, I don't know who I am. It just had the vessel. It just had the vessel of the mirrored image of her husband. And I heard energy say, say good try. But something else that I wanted to add, right? So maybe y'all didn't understand what was being said. But anyway, I'm going to continue, and maybe I can touch back on that part. We as beings, or whatever you want to call it, magical beings, aliens, whatever, our power, whether it is good or bad, comes from the same place. So when people are said to be witches, you have people that can be good witches, you have people that can be bad witches. Like, that's the thing about light energy. And if you've seen the part of her journey at the end, the light being didn't react until she was about to, start fighting it. But that's the thing about this twin flame journey. It isn't meant to be fault. It is meant to be, we have to let that old version of us go so that we can become in alignment with that new, well, it's not even new because it exists. We just have to become in alignment with it. We have to become it. And her husband did it, but she didn't. But she still at the end is facing it through this man who is her husband. But it is the light being that she is. I would like to add a lot more to this video. It is getting a little toasty or hot around this window, and you probably known from other videos that my ring light is no longer working. So I'm grateful for all the viewers that are viewing this, and all of you that have watched this Annihilation movie, unpacking perspective of a twin flame. And if you like this, interact with the video, interact with the channel. I'm very grateful.